Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the next chapter of Higurashi no Naku Koroni. I'm so excited because we're finally getting into the part where Keiichi is remembering the different timelines, and I'm hoping that this is a Rika chapter. I would love this if it were a Rika chapter. My voice would absolutely love it. I would probably be able to do more than one chapter a day. I love Rika's voice. It's my favorite one. Anyways, so in the last book, once again, I'm going to say this. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe, like, and share it on Twitter and stuff. I'm really, really trying to get my YouTube more. I'm working really hard on it, but I'm not entirely sure how to get more views. So if you guys know and if you could help me out, please, please do that, because you know that I'm an amazing gamer and I'm an amazing actress and that these are really entertaining. I mean, I watch them and I'm like enthralled with myself. So please, please do that. And if you're watching on Twitch, just so you know, I've had some issues with copyrights because of the music. I know, I know. It's like an old game, but who cares? Or old. It's a visual. It's a what is it called? Sound novel. Is that what it's called? So clearly there's going to be, but whatever. Anyway, so I'm recording them and I'm posting them on YouTube for those of you watching on Twitch. Okay, so quick recap. Last chapter was pretty much about Reina, and pretty much the same thing that happened to Keiichi happened to in the first book happened to Reina, but in this book, um, I think the few things that the biggest things that we need to point out is that one, we finally, I mean, we had a hunch that Rika was looping through time, right? And reliving this week over and over. We got confirmation of that. Keiichi finally started remembering other timelines. He remembered the timeline where he killed the very first book that we read. And third thing, the disaster happened in the last book as well. So since the first book and this book were and the last book were kind of connected, I'm just going to assume that the disaster happens every single time, except it didn't happen in the second one. And if you, once again, please go watch my detective um my theories before them. I'm doing really, really well right now. My theory right now is that Takano is behind all of it. I don't really know the hows, but I really do believe that she is the one behind it, whether she's like leaking gas, or I think, but I think it has something to do with Rika. I really do think it has something to do with Rika, because the one book where the disaster didn't happen is the book that Shion was the one that killed Rika. And Rika didn't even make it to the day that she usually dies. And she was killed in the same way as the as in the third book with Satoko. So I don't know what this one's going to be about, but let's get started. I'm super excited for this. So sit back, relax, grab some popcorn and some headphones. Think of this like a light novel, and let's get started. The final truth. Wait, what? There's one more chapter after this. This story introduces the unit inside and out, using all the actors. This is no longer a story, it's a public autopsy for all to join. As they say, after loving someone, cut open their belly and eat their organs. Ew. It's the same with stories. The difficulty is quite mild, well suited for those with pride. Heart. What are you doing? I'm guessing this is Rika. I don't see you playing by yourself that often. All you could do before was nod to my questions. And when do you have your own will? I'm glad. I finally have a sister or a brother. Whichever you are. I used to be an existence of nothingness, just like you. But one day, I began to have my own identity, my own thoughts, and eventually my own body.
So it's not a surprise to see you in possession of your own will. Welcome to this vast yet tiny world, my sister. You might be my brother, but let me call you my sister until I know for sure. This is an endless, eternal, and infinite world. But that doesn't mean it's boundlessly vast. I suppose you could describe it like a ring with a small diameter. While the ring is an eternal, endlessly looping world, it doesn't mean it contains infinite space. Yes, in short, this world is eternally sealed. The future is supposed to be an infinite weave of countless choices. Yet for whatever reason, our world always ends in death. If I were to compare it to something, perhaps a maze of fate would be appropriate. Looping through the same moments forever, steadily grows harder and more dejecting, eventually producing something like me. Then, as that draws further on, even one like you was born. And eventually this world may be filled with your sisters too. After that, we'll build a colony inside of it, and once we lose our interest in this maze, Rika Furude will disappear from this world. It looks like you still cling to this narrow world, Rika. Though I lost interest long ago, which is why I'm truly glad you were born for me to talk to. So what are you doing? Are you collecting fragments of memory? There's only 5 or 6 of them right now. It must be still fun for you, though. There used to be more fragments long ago, but one by one they disappeared into the darkness. Now these are the only ones that remain clear. That's not how you're supposed to use it. See? Try and hold it up to the light. All of that is the life of Rika Furude, and its end. That one is... Oh, I remember that one. That's the world when Keiichi was cursed.
Oh, they actually say cursed. I'm so excited.
Those fragments are like books to me. So I titled that one the Onikakushi chapter.
I love it. Oh my god. It's so fourth wall.
Do you remember what happened in that one? Good. That makes things easier. In Onikakushi...
Oh, we're getting recaps. Awesome.
Keiichi was consumed by the darkness. He couldn't accept the kind words his friends offered him, and eventually beat them to death, not knowing of their kindness. We were all killed after that anyway. That had nothing to do with his story, though. That fragment is the Watanagashi chapter. Shion Sonozaki was cursed in that one. She killed many people out of revenge for her boyfriend's disappearance as he went missing in 1982. Rika worked so hard. She was captured at the end and was tortured to death. That's why she chose to commit suicide in the Miyakishi chapter, because things were going to turn out the same way.
Wait, isn't that the fourth one? Hold on.
That fragment over there is called the Minagoroshi chapter.
Yeah, Miyakishi is the fourth one with Akasaka.
Satoko's uncle came back and locked her up inside her house. That was the worst world of all. There was nothing Rika was able to do in that world. Whenever Satoko's uncle comes back, Rika usually just gives up on that world. Fortunately, Satoko's uncle doesn't come back that frequently. That one is called the Sumihoroboshi chapter. Rika was there until just a moment ago. Reina was possessed in that world. It was pretty exciting to see her take over the whole school. It surprised me to learn that Keiichi had a memory of the other worlds.
I'm guessing this is whatever entity is with Rika. I'm not sure what it is. I've unfortunately seen pictures because Reddit. Oh no, Nami! Oh, Nami just dipped her fur in my coffee. Ew.
It was pretty amazing. But then again, most of us have some kind of memory like that. We all have an imaginary world within us. Some idea of what would happen if you did things differently. It's like the strange feeling you get when you do something for the first time, but it feels like you've done it before. Everyone has a memory of an imaginary world in their mind, but the memory is not always that clear. It's not surprising, really. You are special enough to be able to see those fragments of memory. It's probably very difficult for you to understand how special you really are. You were born into a world where it's natural for you to see these fragments. I was originally born in the normal world. I didn't know until recently that I could collect these fragments of memory. You grabbed those fragments just because you could, but I didn't know how to do that for a long time. I'm sorry. I'm sure you're not interested in hearing my story. Huh? What's wrong? What are you curious about? You're curious as to why so many incidents occur in the same world? It's very interesting, isn't it? Why do you think that's the case? Let's think about it together. Hello? Destroying things much?
I'm gonna move the camera a little bit this way because I'm leaning into my mic here. Or I could just bring my mic forward. Rika has my very soft voice, so I get closer to the mic and get a soft voice.
Thinking is the first step towards playing a game. The main character among Rika's group of friends is Keiichi. In Onikakushi, he was possessed by suspicion and killed Rain of Yugu and Mion. If that was an inevitable event, he would be killing them in every world. In other words, what Keiichi did in Onikakushi was not inevitable. Indeed, the only thing that's inevitable is Keiichi's role. If Keiichi was someone with a naturally suspicious heart, he would take the same actions in every world. But that didn't happen. It's true that Keiichi is both passionate and easily convinced of anything, but it's rare for him to exhibit the kind of rage he displayed in Onikakushi.
That's true. That's really the only chapter that he was really... I mean, like, in the Satoko chapter, he murdered the uncle, but he did it for Satoko.
In other words, even though something might seem inevitable in one world, that may not be the case if you compare it to a different one. If something really is inevitable, it will happen for sure in every life.
So, one thing she said at the beginning of the last chapter was Tomatake always died.
That's what true inevitability is like. It's very important that you know that. When you compare the different worlds, what's common among them is the truth.
Okay, so what's common? Tomatake always dies. Takano dies. I don't think she actually dies, but... And I would say the disaster is common, but the second book is what gets me with that one.
Understand? Like I said, what seems inevitable in one life could just be a random event in the other. The club activities Mion suggests are a good example. If Mion had a strong inclination towards playing certain games, he would be playing them in every world. But in reality, you participate in different activities in most of them.
Yeah, I hate that part.
That means that the games they play in the club are randomly decided by Mion. We know that now because we've been through many different lives. Those who only live in one world can't see the event in question is inevitable or random. Those who only live once can't predict what's going on in Mion's mind. But we can. Although the activities are random, Mion calls us together for the club meeting almost every day in every life. I can see Mion holds a strong will towards having the club meetings. Mion always wants to play with the other club members. But she doesn't know what to play. See? We can read Mion's mind just by simply examining these fragments. With this alone, we can see part of who Mion really is. Let me talk a bit more about Keiichi. For those who live only once, the world of the Onikakushi chapter is nothing but a story where Keiichi suffered mysterious hallucinations and beat his friends to death. For them, there's nothing beyond that fact. We, however, can compare different fragments and find out something they could never see. As a result, we know that the murder of his friends was not inevitable. I told you that just earlier. In fact, while there are about 5 or 6 pieces in front of you, he only kills his friends in one of them. That means we can roughly conclude that the possibility Keiichi triggers this tragedy is less than 20% and is almost a fluke. That means that amongst the countless worlds, Keiichi causing the tragedy is an unimportant factor. Now can you find the common thread to be drawn here? You found it already. No wonder you were born into this world. You're quick to learn the knack for playing with building blocks. I didn't figure that out for a while. I was born into the normal world, so I could only see things from a single world's perspective. I was too obsessed with the fact that Keiichi caused the tragedy, so I had trouble finding it. Right. That's exactly right. You see it? The Onikakushi, Minagoroshi, Miyakishi, and Tsumihoroboshi chapters all have something in common. Someone in the group becomes violent because of dark and paranoid thoughts. In each world, either Keiichi, Shion, or Reina become violent as their delusions grow strong. Keiichi, Shion, and Reina are all my close friends, but they were all born and raised differently. The only common factor is they all live in Hinamizawa. I just said it not too long ago, though. When we all peer through these fragments of multiple worlds,
You know what's interesting about those 3? Is those 3 haven't lived in Hinamizawa forever. Keiichi just moved, Shion was in boarding school and got back the year Satoshi came, and Reina also moved back like the year Satoshi came. That's interesting.
the constant phenomena become our facts, and the chance phenomena hold little meaning. In other words, the unrelated individual culprits are not all that important. To go further, the violence of their crime also bears no meaning. Keiichi beat his friends to death, Shion killed the central people of the 3 families, and Reina took over the school. They were all different. There's nothing in common there. In fact, the very, very important truth is that while the culprit and crimes are decided at random, their process of growing paranoid until they resort to violence is always constant. The suspect changes every time, but the process does not. After comparing the different worlds, this is the truth I found. It's the zombie plague thing I was talking about. This is the one truth that is common to all the worlds of Hinamizawa. The rule is that a random person becomes violent under the influence of paranoid thoughts. This is Rule X. Keiichi, Shion, and Reina. Pieces with no particular connection have the potential to succumb to that rule with random probability. I don't know what the probability is that those pieces will be ensnared. Perhaps there is some rule to that too. Is it because these are all close in age? Or is it because they all live in Hinamizawa? Well, we're not detectives or police officers. This is not something that a small girl like us, Rika, can easily figure out. At least we know there is mysterious rule in the world of Hinamizawa. People who only live in one world have no way of knowing that. I'm proud of myself for figuring that out. I guess for you it's not particularly surprising though. Huh? What did you say? That's right. If something is common in all worlds, that means it's fated to happen. Some events come quickly to the mind, don't they? Right. Jiro and Mio are always killed in those worlds. On top of that, they are murdered in exactly the same way in every world. In other words, unlike our previous rule with its variability, their murders are thoroughly planned out by someone with a strong will. So that does not fit with the mysterious vague Rule X that leads to random individual violence. After all, they are always murdered, regardless of who falls to Rule X. Therefore, there's another rule to these worlds. A rule that says Jiro and Mio will get killed on the night of the Minagoroshi. Let's call it Rule Y.
You would think that in all these times that she would have figured out who kills them, although I still think... We know that Mio kills Jiro, at least in one timeline, and I'm just going to say that it's consistent in all of them.
Don't you see how funny this is? Jiro and Mio are killed in every world, right? Every time the character gets cursed, thinks that their deaths have something to do with the danger awaiting them. The fact that someone turns violent, Rule X, and Jiro and Mio's deaths, Rule Y, are supposed to be two independent rules, but they all tend to link together. Of course, one could say that's how they become ensnared in the spell of the paranoia leading to the violence to begin with. But do you think, in their paranoia, that they notice someone is trying to lead them to link those rules together? Yes. Whoever the piece is leading them, they are the one making the stage called Hinamizawa very complicated. You should have noticed at least two suspicious people.
Yeah.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, Mio, for sure. And I would say Oishi.
That's right.
Although I think Mio's doing it on purpose, and I think Oishi is just he wants to solve it so badly.
I'm referring to Oishi.
Oh wait, his first name is... Oh right, he said call him Kuro.
Kuro, Oishi, and Mio Takano. When you compare our previous fragments, the role of the piece known as Kuraro Oishi becomes clear.
He's the one that instigates the paranoia. Well, yeah.
He's a detective who is retiring this year, and he's in a hurry to solve the mystery of the series of deaths in Hinamizawa. After retires, he'll have to move away from the village. That's why he's desperate to solve this case before he has to leave. Why is he so obsessed with the serial murders in Hinamizawa? That's right. It's because of the first murder involving the manager of the construction site.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The victim was Oishi's close friend. You will see that if you look at the Hinamizawa chapter. Oishi was there when the dam conflict was at its peak. He saw how the Sonozaki family took control of the Onikafuji Guardians, and he believed the Sonozaki family was pulling the strings behind the whole incident.
I didn't realize they were friends because I didn't make that connection.
That's why he always suspected the Sonozaki family was behind the series of mysterious deaths, regardless of the evidence or lack thereof. His personal, biased belief, combined with the credibility as a police detective, affected the pitiable victims of persecution complexes in each world. As a result, the pitiful victims of Rule X come to accept the Sonozaki family as the identity of the unknown force their paranoia seeks. Shion Sonozaki's case was the most conspicuous and suspicious one in that matter. So yes, if this piece, Oishi, didn't intervene, then perhaps the victims of Rule X wouldn't have resorted to such violence. So the role his piece plays is indirectly cause to the tragedy. I don't know who named him this, but Oyashiro-sama's servant is the perfect nickname for him. The other suspicious person is Mio. One would assume the only role of her piece is to amuse herself with research into Onikafuchi's dreadful history, and to take pleasure in scaring others with those tales. However, just like Oishi, she gives them the idea that the Sonozaki family is behind all the mysterious incidents that happen in the village. She interfered the most with Reina. For Mio, Reina was the perfect prey, grasping at straws to try and identify the force she suspected. Ironically, however, Mio always ends up getting killed at the end. If she had survived and seen Reina take over the school, she would have laughed out loud.
I still think she's alive.
Now, have you realized that these two pieces and the roles they fulfill have their own rule too? They talk about the Sonozaki family, and the listeners always believe them. This is Rule Z, and what a humorous rule it is. You should already have the answer to the mystery in your fragments on hand. The fact is, the Sonozaki family always acts as if they're responsible, no matter if they are or not. They always pretend to be the villains, in order to make sure people continue to fear them. As a result, the villagers have believed that the Sonozaki family has been pulling the strings ever since the damn conflict ended. Oishi and Mio were simply fooled by that rule. Actually, the whole village is fooled by it. Still, the more I think about it, the stranger the series of mysterious deaths in Hinamizawa seems to me. You know why? Nearly all of the fragments and memories we have here are from 1983. So I have no idea about the incidents from 1980 to 1982. But it's likely that interpreting these murders as serial is simply a result of falling victim to Rule Z, believing the Sonozaki family is pulling the strings behind everything. In short, they may be trying to conflate these multiple crimes, which each happen for different reasons, into one big case. Well, I have no way of discerning the truth from the fragments here. Still, perhaps something lies in one of them. Each case was supposed to have been solved individually after all. We don't know if that theory is sound or irrational, but it might surprisingly be an element we can't ignore. That reminds me, Shion said something intriguing in the Miyakashi chapter. That curse system she came up with. Do you remember that?
Oh, right. Yeah.
The theory was that the villagers believed that they are allowed to kill an enemy of the village on the night of the Watanagashi.
Wait, so is the Miyakishi... Oh, Miyakishi must be the Shion chapter. Then. Right. Okay, that makes sense. Mina committed suicide in that one, right? She injected herself with the... whatever you want to call that thing.
Her theory was the villagers believe that they are allowed to kill an enemy of the village on the night of the Wanagashi in the name of Oyashiro-sama curse, and that this foundation of murder is allowed on that night alone is the true identity of the curse. I really think that might be the case. Like, it happened once, and then people, like, I mean, even Keiichi did it. We saw it in the chapter that Keiichi killed the uncle. He did it on the night of the Wanagashi for the sole purpose of trying to link it to the other murders. So that could be the case for all of them, right? Like, the first one happened, and then the next year, I forget what order they go in, but since most of the fragments here are from 1983, there's nothing to back the validity of Shion's theory, but there are still interesting things about it. In other words, her theory is that the suspect is not the one who's committing the crime, it's the environment that's causing the murder. People, in a single word, tend to analyze a criminal's life to determine the process that led them to crime, but her idea is different. The real crime is committed not by the criminals, but by the environment. In other words, it may only be happenstance that Robber A committed the crime, and the environment of poverty may have created Robber B instead. Or perhaps even Robber C. It may not even be a criminal in another world. Therefore, the real criminal is not A, but the environment that creates A, B, or C. And well, while people in a single world may be able to reach such an idea, the widespread desire to place blame commonly causes A to be lynched by society while the environment that gave rise to A goes ignored. Did I confuse you? I'm sorry. Perhaps that example was actually harder for you to understand. It's easy for me to see it like that because I'm from the normal world. Let's make it simple. The culprit behind the tragedy in many worlds isn't individuals like Keiichi or Shion, but the environment. So Rule X is the true culprit at fault. You're earning good marks if you can grasp that, even if we don't know the identity of Rule X. And if you can grasp the 3 rules governing this stage called Hinamizawa, Rules X, Y, and Z, then you're earning very good marks. So as long as you understand those rules, then even if this is your first experienced world, you should easily find the truth without distraction. See? Isn't it fun? Merely 3 simple rules are interacting on this stage, creating a kaleidoscope of different worlds. This is probably a very, very unusual case. In other locations, you shouldn't be able to see such extreme variation even after looping through several worlds. It keeps me entertained just staying here and watching these worlds revolve. Anyway, there's one more fact we can understand from these fragments of worlds. This is the biggest problem we Rikas are facing. The fact that Rika always dies each time. It's as if June 1983 is a dead end for her. Worse, there's no randomness to it. It's guaranteed to happen. In other words, it's the same pattern as the deaths of Jiro and Mio. It's following the exact same rule, Rule Y. Toмотake and Mio are always murdered on the night of the Wanagashi. Furude, why does it... I don't know which... I don't know why it's switching to Japanese and to English way of saying the name. It's confusing me. Rika's date of death is not always the same, but she's always dead by the middle of June. Jiro and Mio are probably attacked on their way home, so that's why it happens on the same night. But for Rika, it's different. She takes different actions in every world, and her lifestyle is very unpredictable. For that reason, the day of her death is not always the same. However, she always dies in June, because a similar, powerful conviction vows to kill her too. So can we assume that the same rule why killing them is also the rule behind her death? Is the same person killing all three of them? I don't know if it's the same person, but it's highly likely the same rule is at work. Is it the same person? Or same organization? Is it the same views? Same goals? Rika's most important goal is to escape her deadly fate. But it doesn't mean she just wants to leave the village and survive. She wants to live happily in the village. All of her friends must also be happy too. That's Rika's happy future. The ideal future she hopes for. It's tragic that we can't realize such a simple desire, no matter how many times we repeat this. Though, it's a tragedy we're only able to perceive because we're beings capable of comparing the fragments from different worlds. By the way, I have some interesting information. While Rika is almost always killed by Rule Y, have you noticed that she's killed by Rule X in some worlds? Right. It happened in Watanagashi and Miyakashi chapters. Rika committed suicide, but you can say that she was more or less killed by Rule X via Shion in those worlds. Yeah. In other words, this is the blunder for Rule Y. Rule Y is trying to kill Rika with a strong desire to achieve some aim. But that's what I said, that's why the disaster didn't happen. So Rule X relates to the disaster happening. That might have caused them to show some disturbance. If Rule Y's objective is simply to bury Rika, then that's not a problem. But if they have some objective beyond that, then that might show up as some other phenomena. Perhaps the Watanagashi and Miyakashi chapters have something in common. Something that doesn't happen in other worlds. Unfortunately, we're Rika, so we don't know what happens after Rika is dead. Or, by any chance, do you know what happened? Oh. Okay, so it is connected. I was right. God, I'm so smart at mysteries. Ah! I love it. I am so good at mystery. I can't write mysteries, though. I wish I could, but I'm good at solving them. She called me the fucking pro in mystery solving, yo. I am goddess. Sorry, I get excited. I love mysteries, and the fact that I'm getting pretty much everything right. So I still don't know the why, but I'm pretty sure Mio is behind it. And either she wants to do some ritual and kill everybody, and Rika's necessary for that, and that's why in the 1-2 chapters nobody got possessed. Rika died way beforehand, so that's why the disaster didn't happen. Since I'm Rika Furude, I only know the events of during Rika's life. You, on the other hand, are a special existence who was born into a superior world. If there's anything that didn't happen in Watanagashi and Miyakashi chapters, that happened in other worlds after Rika's death, if you know anything, And that must be another truth behind Rule Y. The memories I have here are all mainly about the chaos brought about by Rika's friends, that is Rule X. But its foundation, Rule Z, and the obvious hostility common among all worlds, Rule Y, are what I believe to be the true rules governing this stage. If so, then Rika's path is a thorny one. She needs to fight Rule Y in order to survive. Unless she defeats it, she has no future past June 1983. And to win her own happiness, she must also beat Rule X to win her friend's safety. So as long as that's undefeated, one of Rika's precious friends may be led to tragedy. If that happens, then even should Rika survive, she wouldn't have the happy future she hopes for. She also may have to defeat Rule Z, just as Sonozaki Shion faced it in Miyakashi.
I forgot what X, Y, and Z are. One of them is that Rika, Jiro, and Mio, who I don't think is dead, die. Oishi and Mio contribute to X, which is the disease or whatever. Oh, that's horrible. I like this music in this screen.
Now, as long as Rule Z remains, and even if she escapes 1983, it's possible another tragedy may lie wait in 1984. It's extremely likely that Rule Z is the breeding ground for Rule X. Hinamizawa's fundamental belief that the Sonozaki family is behind everything, and the custom that anything can be misconstrued as the curse may indirectly be the root of all evil here.
I was gonna say something else. It's probably... So, like I said before, Keiichi, Reina, and Shion haven't lived in the village their whole life, right? Like, Shion grew up there, but she was in the boarding school and came back recently, right? So, it's probably easier to persuade them that crazy things are happening in the village because they don't know the history of the village as much, right? Like, the reason Mion hasn't become possessed, we'll say, is because she knows that the Sonozaki family isn't actually behind anything. She knows everything that's going on. Same with Rika, and Satoko has always been there. And also, Mio / Oishi have never really interacted with Satoko. Whereas they have with Shion, Keiichi, and Reina.
People are not surprised to see someone die in the night of the Wanagashi. That type of thinking is keeping the curse alive in Hinamizawa, where it causes even more tragedy. It's Rule Z reinforcing itself. Rules X, Y, and Z. They are the 3 rules that hunt Rika down in the eternal June of 1983. They are all tough obstacles. We didn't even figure out these 3 common rules until recently. Were you aware of them? If you were, I'll give you straight A's. I've tried so hard in the past to break these rules, but I was never successful. However, a miracle happened in this Sumihoroboshi chapter. Keiichi was able to recognize a small fragment from another world by chance, and he beat Rule X.
I was gonna say before that if it was Takano that killed her, how would she not know? But if Takano sneaks up behind her and... So she said in her prophecy that she dies peacefully. But I mean, we saw her, like, guts ripped open, right? So if they like chloroform her and then do that to her while she's sleeping, then she wouldn't know who did it, right?
In the end, Biko was still killed that night by Rule Y, though. But still, one rule was defeated. That was a huge leap forward. Rika knew there were 3 common rules among the worlds, but she could never break any of them. Eventually she gave up and lost interest in the worlds. That's how I was born. However, she's different now. She learned something valuable from Keiichi. That the rules can be broken with a strong enough will to fight. If she can break all 3 rules, Rika will be freed from her internal prison. She doesn't have much time left, though. Rika has traveled through many worlds. Her physical lifespan is not a problem, but her mental lifespan is getting shorter. Mentally, she is extremely old, and her soul is starting to turn into something different. In the end, she'll probably lose the ability to experience singular worlds. She's already showing those signs, and eventually her memories from the parallel worlds will mix together, ultimately causing her derangement and the loss of Rika's soul. And she will disappear. That means you and I are going to be left in this dark world. The fragments of our memories will gradually disappear, and we will be left alone in eternal darkness. Eventually we will die. Rika's aware of that. She knows her mental lifespan is getting shorter and shorter. Hanyu is also losing her powers. Who's Hanyu? She can't rewind through years of time like she used to. Her power has decreased so much that she can barely rewind 1 month at a time. Actually, she can only rewind a few weeks. In the next world, she should only have about 2 weeks of time. Rika is going to try and break all 3 rules in just those 2 weeks. I wanted to know what's outside the well, so I tried to crawl my way up from there. I wanted to know what's outside the well, so I continued to climb even when I fell and injured myself. I finally realized the higher I climb, the more pain I feel when I fall. When my curiosity towards the world— Ah! God damn it! God damn it! Yay! I'm excited! I like this opening.
How about see Hanyu, the cute girl with the horns that I don't know who it is? Mm. Hold on, we're gonna refill my coffee right now. I'm hoping this is a Rika chapter because I love doing her voice. Now, just like I did with Reina, I didn't quite do her voice 100% the whole time because well, Rika's is easier. But Reina's, I kind of like more just went into like the princessy kind of voice, and I didn't do as high as pitch while she was narrating. So I might do the same thing with Rika, but Rika, like I said, is easier, so she has the nice, calm voice.
I felt no gravity in the darkness and lost all of my senses as a result. I banged my head on the floor with a dull thud. Seeing stars behind my eyelids, I curled into a ball while holding my head in pain. Are you okay? Did you get hurt? Rika! Please say something! I had no idea why I was in this situation, but as soon as I heard their voices from the top of the cliff, I realized I must have fallen. Oh, I remember. I was playing behind the shrine with the rest of the club members. I got too excited and started doing something dangerous. Then the tree branch broke. That's how I fell off the cliff. My body started to ache all over. I remembered how I fell, but I still felt strange for some reason. I couldn't remember what I was doing. No, it was more that I couldn't remember who Rika was before I fell off the cliff. Oh,
I don't know what voice to give Hanyu. I have to see it first.
I heard Hanyu's panicked voice. I looked behind me and saw Hanyu standing there with a scared look on her face.
Oh my god, she is the cutest thing.
Hanyu? What just happened? You were playing with everyone and fell off the cliff. Are you okay? I don't care about that, Hanyu. What day is it today? What year and what month? I always ask this question first when something like this happens. She finally realized I was asking the same old question. It's June of 1983. The Wadadagashi Festival's next week, so... Oh dear. I only have that much time left. This is the best we can do, Hanyu muttered regretfully. It was the middle of June 1983. If this really was the best she could do, I had no choice. I couldn't complain. I gradually started to remember more things. If this is June of 1983, I see. I was killed again. After Reina surrendered to the police, all the classmates were given checkups at the clinic. I didn't get hurt, so I was sent back home after they determined I had no injuries. My memories started getting vague from that point on, a common characteristic of my violent deaths. When my life is taken away violently, the memory before deaths becomes vague with static. It's like a violently ripped roll of toilet paper. That example should make it easy to understand, even if it's uncouth. That's why I have no clear memory of what happened and how I died that night.
See? So if it's a Takano, she wouldn't know.
I only have vague memories.
See? If it's Takano, she wouldn't know.
I think someone covered my mouth with a handkerchief or something. and I passed out. That's about the only thing I remember, and only vaguely. I'm not even sure if it really happened. The only thing I know for sure is I was attacked on my way home, or possibly after I got there, and that I was murdered suddenly. I don't know who killed me or how I was killed. I'm glad that at least I don't remember the horrific ending to my life every time it happens. Do you guys remember that one note that we had? Tip that we had. It was Keiichi's dad visiting the village, and he saw two little girls playing together that looked like twins. That must have been Hanyu and Rika. Because of my experiences, I think I now understand why ghosts wander around this world, not knowing they died so suddenly. If it's a death from a long-lasting illness, people tend to remember that they were sick. They can kind of assume that they died after being sick for a long time. But when your memory is violently disrupted like mine, it can get quite confusing. When I first experienced this, I wasn't sure if I was dreaming or not. I even thought I hit my head hard and lost my memory. I needed to organize things before I get too confused. My name is Rika Furude. People look at me in a special way, but that's not a big deal for me. All I want is a happy life, where I can play around with my best friends. I can't remember how long I've been living just for the sake of obtaining that simple happiness.
Oh my god, she's so cute! I want to cosplay her. Oh my god, she's adorable.
This panic girl here is named Hanyu. I'm the only one that can see her. Perhaps she only exists inside my head? At any rate, Hanyu's invisible and can generally only interact with me. It'll be a long story if I try to explain Hanyu's existence, so I won't be doing that right now. Besides, I don't even know how I should talk about her. She's been there since I was born, and her existence is a natural thing for me. I saw everyone running up the gravel road towards me. They're my important and lovable best friends. Our group's active, boisterous, and when we get serious about doing stupid things. I'm never bored when I'm around them. I love them very much.
Rika, are you okay? Did you sprain your ankle? Where did you get hurt? Let this old man have a look at it.
Thank you so much. Just got a bump on my head. I think that all I got was a bump at least. My injury wasn't as serious as everyone thought.
When you hit your head, you need to be cautious, even if you're fine for this moment. That's true! You should get Coach to check you out, just in case. That's a good idea! Do you want me to go get him? Yeah, we'll go ask someone to use a phone and call him here.
You don't need to do that. I'm totally fine. Ipa!
Absolutely not, Rika. You must be cautious. It's hard when Rika has such a small... I pulled my microphone closer because Rika has such a small voice. But the other characters, I have very big voices for them. So it's like, I'm like pulling away from the microphone.
Satoko warned me with a stern voice. It wasn't really a big deal, but I decided to nod since Satoko was trying to be generous. She wasn't trying to boss me around or anything. She was only saying that because how much she cares. I've seen it before in many different lives that I've been through. I have no doubt she's really concerned about me. It's not just Satoko. Mion, Reina, Keiichi, all the same. They're all so nice to me, and they truly do care. Mion left to look for a phone. Reina also left with the towel, looking for the water tap. Satoko remained nearby, taking care of me with a worried face, and Hanyu was just standing there, still wearing a panicked look. Keiichi seemed to be panicked too, but he was trying not to show it. He was standing by me, wearing a calm expression.
Are you alright?
I'm fine. It doesn't hurt anywhere.
I'm glad you're not seriously injured. I was super worried.
I wouldn't feel anything special about his words if this was a while ago. But at that moment when Meina took over the classroom, when she hurt me on, Keiichi tried his best to save Rina. Even so, he was more reliable than I ever imagined from his normal behavior. He's usually an insensitive guy who hurts people's feelings without noticing, but that's not his true self. He has a secret side. He's willing to sacrifice himself for other people. I was just observing that not too long ago. That's why I can honestly feel his generosity now. Now that I think about it, Keiichi regained a memory from another world the previous time around. Is it possible he carries that memory in this world too? If that's the case, I have some hope. Hanyu and I are totally powerless. Hanyu is only like heir to everyone but me, and I'm just a little girl. There's only so much we can do by ourselves. But Keiichi is different. He changed the fate I had once resigned myself to. He's somebody who may have the power to take me into my unseen future. If I can get Keiichi to understand me, he could be my hero. Perhaps I'm not actually expecting that much out of him. I just want someone to understand my struggle of being stuck in this maze. Keiichi! I spoke to him slowly. It had been a while since I felt so nervous. I felt this way since I started my endless life in 1983. As a witch, I normally would know what his response would be before even talking to him. I often remain silent because I already know how pitiful the reply would be. But in that case, why was I so nervous now?
Did you call me Rika?
Hanyu gave me a disappointed look before I responded to Keiichi. Rika! I could tell what Hanyu was thinking too. The miracle wasn't going to happen. If miracles do happen, one could have happened many times in my other lives, but I've only seen one before. The miracle Keiichi gave me was a once-in-a-lifetime miracle. Only if it happened again would it be a true miracle. I won't get out of this world just because I rolled a 6 on the die once. I can't get out unless I get a miracle that's equivalent to getting a 6 on the die 10 times in a row. And so I rolled 10 dice, wishing they'd all turn out to be 6. Keiichi!
What is it? Are you hurt?
He looked at me worriedly after I called his name twice. Keiichi, do you remember? I knew how sudden my question was. As I thought, but he looked at me with a confused face.
Huh? What are you talking about?
I looked inside his eyes to see his true feelings. You should remember. You should know. Even though he doesn't have the memory, Keiichi experienced it. Huh?
What is she referring to, Keiichi? Did you do something bad to her? You had better speak up.
Do you remember? Climbing up on the school roof?
The school roof? Keiichi, you climbed up there?
I'm not asking you, Satoko. Do you remember, Keiichi?
I did? I climbed on the roof? When? You must be mistaken somehow, Rika. I never climbed on the roof, and I don't even know how to get up there.
Of course, you haven't experienced it in this world yet. But please tell me you remember. I know you've never been up on the roof, but you should still remember doing it. You shouldn't be able to remember it too, but you did. You did once. You should be able to remember once again.
Perhaps you went up there to get a ball or something? Never. Have you been up there, Satoko? Unthinkable. I would get in such terrible trouble if I did something like that. Let's see, what got him to trigger his memory in the last one? His friends. Talking about his past. But I'd bet it'd feel really good to take a nap up there.
There's no way he would remember. If miracles could happen that easily, neither of us would be suffering like this. Shut up. I knew that. I knew he wouldn't remember. Our fate is already set in stone. We're like a pitiful cicada that dies after the summer festival. Shut up! As I stared at her fiercely, Hanya realized she had crossed the line.
I can't imagine Mika saying shut up.
This might be a waste of time. The maze we're in might not have an exit. It might be an endless loop without a goal in place. We're trapped in this fate. I thought that Keiji might be able to get me out of here. That Keiji I saw was truly a miracle. A momentary glimmer. The Keiji of this world doesn't bear the same miracle. All the same, I'm not going to give up. Last time, too, I gave up on fighting destiny. I realized Reina was beyond my salvation, so I bid her farewell and forsook that world. But Keiji fought and broke the cycle of fate. I should have worked harder with Keiji in that world. I could have broken this endless cycle together with him. Am I going to repeat this life, waiting for that miracle to happen again? I can't. I don't want to repeat the same life anymore. I'm tired. I'm tired of this world, my fate, everything. I'm tired of getting murdered by destiny. Keiji showed me a miracle. I should be able to do that same too. I must fight. I must fight with all my remaining power. I was always fighting. I was fighting when I had more power, but I never made it. How? How can I expect to win this time? Oh, I have to. Keiji taught me that fate can be shattered. I'm going to fight one more time.
So because that was Mio's scrapbook, I'm thinking that that was her
grandfather. Okay, well, I have an appointment at 3, and I want to go head to my favorite Starbucks and study some Japanese before then. So I am going to take off. But we're going to continue this tonight because I'm so excited that we're finally getting into this. I'm so excited. Okay, so once again, if you're watching on Twitch, there might be some copyright issues. So if there are, head over to my YouTube channel. The link should be in my info section on Twitch. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe and let everybody know. And follow me on Twitter and such. Okay, and we'll see you later. Au revoir.